Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something that makes it a lot easier to remember characters as well as to analyze them and maybe even figure out what they mean. So we're going to be talking about 偏旁部首 and 汉字结构, or radicals and Chinese character structures. So if we look at these two characters, 你好, you've seen them many times. To someone who hasn't learned Mandarin before, these might just look like pictures that you would have to remember fully as just a whole symbol by itself. It is a very important skill to be able to remember characters, of course, if you're going to be reading Mandarin. And so let's look at a way that remembering this can be made a little bit easier for you. If you take ni and hao, you notice you can actually draw a line neatly down the center of each one to split it into two parts. Now, one of these parts is known as a radical. The radical is the part of the character that gives a hint at the meaning of the character most often. It is only one part of the character, but you'll see it repeated frequently between characters. For example, the character here, 偏, the left part, you'll notice, is the same as the left part of 你 that we just saw. But even though radicals will repeat frequently, other elements of the character will also be seen in other characters as well. So, going back to our 你好 example, the ways that it might hint at meaning is each of these parts has a meaning itself. For example, in 你, the left part, 人, means person, whereas the right part, 儿, is an archaic word for you. So it is a you word that you would use with more people. It's a personable you word, is kind of how you can remember that. Same thing for 好. 女 is the left part. It means girl or daughter in this case. And then 子 means son. So 好 by itself means good, and so having daughters and sons is considered good. All right, so these are a few common radicals that you'll see repeated in many characters. Our first one, 木 means wood or tree, 口 means mouth, 水 means water, 火 means fire, 日 means sun, 鱼 means fish, 鸟 means bird, and then this is 犬, it means dog. I've written these in the way that you'll see them most often as a radical. However, these will also often have different forms. For example, apologies, that's in the next slide. I'll go over that in a second. These will have different forms, but we'll get to that. So the way that these work is, for example, you have mu. By itself is a character, but you can add it to other things. One of the most popular ways that people demonstrate this is with, then you have lin, which is a copse or a grove of trees. And then you have sun, which is a forest. So you'll see we just add more mu, and you have more trees in the mix. Going back to this, you'll see that we have all of these radicals. Some of them will change form. So shui is often written with the 3 dots on the left, but if you see it by itself, it is this character in the middle. Huo is most often written in a character as the 4 dots on the left, but on its own, and as well as in a couple of characters, you'll also see it as the full character on the right there. And then 犬, dog, is written like this as the full character. However, that is not the most common word for dog if you are using spoken Chinese nowadays. All right, let's zoom in on one of these characters and see how it is used as a radical. For example, all 4 of these characters have the character yu, or fish, in them. I'm sure they're quite easy to spot. They're all in the same place. They're on the left-hand side. Now, you would be right in guessing, if you saw these characters, that this would be some sort of fish. And that is indeed the case. So this will usually have something to do with fish. For example, this is a trout, 尊, a whale, 精, this is a squid, 游, and then this is a sea bass, or 驴. So if we look at this character more closely, you can draw a line down the center, and that is one of the character structures that you'll see most commonly is a left-right character structure. There are a bunch of different character structures which we have listed for you here, as well as some examples below. Let's go through them one by one. So, 国 is an example of this type of structure where you have something completely enclosed within another character part. Next, on the right, we have 边. 边is an example of you have something in the top left, and then you have it partially enveloped in the bottom. The bottom left is partially enveloping the top right. Then you have basically a rotation of that. For example, 居, where you have the left and top are covered, and the bottom right is open. Then you have it covered on 3 sides. You might be looking at this character, Qu, and being like, that's not covered on 3 sides. Well, it sort of is. The hook counts as covering part of the ko in the middle, so that one is generally counted. You can also rotate this shape in the other direction, so that it is opening downwards, as in Tong, or if you remember Yue, our character for moon or month. You can get a little more complicated here. You have 3 things stacked on top of each other. You can have 3 things aligned horizontally like this. You can have 2 things on top of each other. You can have the left-right split like we talked about before, or you can have a combination where you have 1 thing on top, 2 things on the bottom. Really, Chinese characters don't deviate from this very much at all. And so once you know these structures, or once you recognize this pattern, it'll be very easy to spot which part of a character is which, so you're no longer memorizing a whole character. So those are basically 10 of the very basic ones that you'll see. You could, if you want, differentiate this further, but really there's no purpose other than pure interest. So one thing that's very useful to notice is once you can recognize these radicals, you'll be able to look at these structures and be like, hey, I recognize this radical. I know that it can look like this or this. I know that we have the left side, we have the right side, and then you'll see this one's actually a left-right, and then it's split top to bottom here. Here's just left-right, left-right, left-right. And then you'll notice, oh, it looks a little different if it's written at the bottom. So here we have a top-bottom character, and we know it's the same radical. We have a top-bottom character, and then we know it's the same radical. What makes this really easy is you can say, hey, I remember that it's this radical, and then there's another part to it. So in that case, if you haven't seen that part before, but you know the radical, you can remember one less thing. You'll be like, oh, it's this radical, and then you just have to remember that other part. But, for example, if you already know 高兴的兴 looks like this, and you know Yan looks like this, you can be like, hey, I only have to remember that these things go together to make this character, as opposed to having to remember that we have this part, and then we have this part, and like trying to remember it as a picture is a whole nother thing. It's very difficult. So, hopefully this will help you when you're breaking down characters for you to remember them, and hopefully this will help you with just recognizing structures and recognizing a couple of radicals. We will have a radical board up in the classroom, hopefully sometime this week, if not next week. But I will catch you in the next video, or I will see you in class. 再见.